welcome to the Science Faction Podcast, where science meets fact meets fiction.
This is Science Faction for the week of, June 1st, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Dominguez, and with me today, two gentlemen that are entirely too close for comfort.
I'm Benjamin Daniel Lawless, and I've been here the whole time.
Devon Kraft, I'm here in person.
So, this is another one of those episodes, you guys.
Yeah, you know how last week we were like, Devon's not here, we're just throwing away all of our notes and we're just going to wing it.
Yeah.
Well, Devon's here and we're just going to throw away all our notes, we're just going to wing it.
We're going to wing it. So Devon's visiting because you got work stuff here in California.
Yeah.
So you came early to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
We've been hanging out, and some of our plans fell apart because that happens. But before that happened, we had on Friday night, we bonfired, you guys.
We did.
We bonded fire, if you will.
Yeah.
Discuss the nature of reality
Yeah, we did.
around the bonfire.
What are those rats? Are those rats just wrestling?
We are in my office, and Stephen is looking at the rats that my son...
They're like...
Noodles and Soba are their names.
I think they're making rat love.
They...
I can't tell.
Yeah, that's...
They're in a pile, wiggling around.
They're having fun. They're wrestling.
They're doing rat stuff.
Yeah.
Rat stuff.
When you have pet rats, do you get them fixed? I mean, how does that work?
That's a really good question. So, you generally... Okay. We have the option to get them fixed. They're both female.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
So, getting them fixed would mean that we would extend their life expectancy by about a year.
Interesting.
They generally live 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of the major ways that rats, one of the main leading causes of rat death is cancer of, the reproductive areas.
Huh.
Yeah. And so,
Okay.
our vet has suggested and, hey, we think that it would be good for you guys if we got them fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And we have not done it yet
Is
because
that pretty expensive?
it's a little pricey.
Because it sounds like if you're, especially for female rats, where you're going in and removing
Organs.
internal organs as
Yeah.
opposed to a male rat, you could probably external organs.
Yeah.
Seems like it'd be really expensive to do that type of surgery on a rat.
It is, yes.
Well,
And so we have not yet done it because it's
if
lower
I
on
was
our priority list.
I mean, I guess your wife works with a vet, so she'd know. But I'm like, for the normal person, be like, oh yeah, we'll take your rat and give it a hysterectomy, and then they don't do anything, and they just give it back. Like, yeah, it's fine. And then when it dies, it's like you're not going to do an autopsy to check.
True. Yeah, it's
Devon, why are you finding the loopholes in rat?
I don't feel like I'm being hustled here.
I'm just saying
the rat hustlers.
They could though.
They could for sure. Yeah, but it's
just shave the little stomach. And
you could put
some dots on it like it's a stitch or something.
Yeah.
It's an odd sort of thing because we're coming off of this last year where the end of my cat's life was very expensive, and my dog's diabetes insipidus was also tremendously expensive. And so we're going through and we're in hyper debt pay down mode right now.
Yeah.
So while the health of these two rats is important to us, it's just kind of a lower priority right now. And we'll see if it does fit into our plan or not.
Yeah. Look, here's the thing, you guys. You have 2 female rats. And if Jurassic Park has taught me anything, it's that life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
So if you see eggshells in there, be concerned.
Yeah, especially because they don't lay eggs.
Well,
as far as I know, they're mammals.
I mean, that's why I'm saying, if you see rat eggs, you run.
Okay, so what we've been doing is we've been feeding them after midnight.
Yeah.
We give them water.
You
we
pour water on
them.
Feed
Yeah.
them after midnight.
Yeah.
Isn't it always after midnight?
Always.
Isn't that the dumbest rule
Yeah.
in all of sci-fi?
Yeah. Especially given that they like, what does midnight even mean when they were? Weren't they like?
They were
They
like
were transplanted from China to America.
Yeah.
And
So
like,
when is midnight
when
for
is
them?
midnight
Well,
for
maybe
Gremlins?
the guy,
Mogwai.
the guy who sold him or the guy who brought him, maybe he actually did account for the time change. Maybe it's actually don't feed him after noon.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, but here it's after midnight.
Uh-huh.
So he did the change
so
for
he
you.
already. That seems like the kind of kindness a man selling you a tiny monster wouldn't give.
Well, he didn't. So the thing is, the man didn't sell it to him. It was the boy in the shop.
I don't remember.
I don't remember Gremlin lore. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the dad goes into the shop, sees Mogwai.
Yeah.
That's really cute. Like,
Yeah.
I want him for my son. And the old man running the shop is like, he's not for sale. He is.
Okay.
He is
Yeah,
ours.
it's just part of the scam, though. That makes you want it more.
And it makes you want it more. But the kid is like,
That's how Devon got
listen,
married.
listen, like my grandpa doesn't like he's not good with money. He needs this money. You're an American that we can easily dupe. Like, here, let's make this happen. But there are a couple of ground rules you're going to need to know, and that's when the ground rules come in.
Feeding the water.
But it was not the old man's plan for.
Okay.
If
So the
you
old
take it at surface level.
the old man could probably be trusted, but the young boy,
Yeah, he was like a teenager.
well, you can't trust teenagers. It's like
So-
rule number one.
It's
Right.
like, I'm sure it would have been too clunky to put in the dialogue for the movie, but they should have said, like, don't feed them after midnight and before, like, 6 a.m.
Right.
Like, give a range.
Yeah.
And then they could have said, and if you travel, make sure to account for the time change.
But then there wouldn't be a movie, Devon.
And for daylight savings time.
Every second Tuesday, we're gonna need.
Oh, is this? Wait a minute. Is this a leap year? Oh man, a different set of rules on leap year.
Which
Like, nowadays,
which
like, you need to
veterinarians
download the
do we
app.
take Mogwai to?
You need to download the app and make sure your location is on so it can take into all those things into account.
So is Mogwai
Press
a
the button.
mammal or is Mogwai?
Mogwai is a mythical beast, so nothing applies because we're talking about
Or
a movie
lizard.
called Gremlins.
Well, see, and really, if it's midnight, I assume it's the position of the Earth in relation to the sun.
Right.
Because at least that has some, like mystical aspects to it. You could say, like, you can't feed them when your point on Earth is directly opposed to the position of the sun.
I mean, what if it was? It would make way more sense if it were like based on lunar cycles.
Yeah,
As well.
that sounds more mystical too.
Right. Yeah. But. That's
Also, I
why,
don't
dear
think
listener,
midnight
you come
is
to
when
our
you're
podcast.
Completely away from the sun. That's probably completely untrue. We have to do more math, but the point being,
Yeah.
would be the relative positions of the Earth and the sun.
This is a podcast about science and science fiction.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
And mythical Chinese beasts is not part of it.
It's close.
It's adjacent. It's science fantasy.
It's biological fiction, science fiction,
Yeah.
on a biological level.
So we had a bonfire
Yes.
the other night.
Yeah.
And that was-
What do you want to talk about the bonfire?
Just that we had one and my
Oh.
clothes smelled like smoke. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a fire in the backyard like that. And, fire pit, not just a random fire. In a fire
We're in
pit.
California.
Cal-
You've had fires.
I mean,
quite-
we've been on fire for years now. No, yeah, that was a great time to just sit around a fire and just be,
move around every once in a while when the smoke would start to follow
Yeah,
you.
it really chased you around, man.
Yeah, it had it out for me.
It
That's
did.
for sure.
And then yesterday, Saturday,
You guys got to hang out with Greg.
we got to hang out with Greg. What's up, Greg? He listens too,
Yeah,
so
he does.
we could say stuff to him right now.
Yeah,
But
you
he's
could
not
get
a
in
patron,
trouble.
is he?
He's not a patron, no. So we'll say the bad stuff on the Patreon only, and the good stuff now, or vice versa. No, yeah. Greg was like, "Yeah, we can hang out." So we ended up playing Relic Blade, which was the first time that you've played that.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, Relic Blade is a miniatures game. It's like a little skirmish game where each side has 3 or 4 models. They have cards with stats and stuff. You roll some dice, and the mission that it's all fantasy based. And the mission that we were doing was escorting. I almost couldn't say it right. Escorting a yak from one side of the 2 foot by 2 foot play area, from one side to the other. That was yours, Devon. That was your mission, was to escort the yak, and I was.
You ambushed me.
And I was an ambush, yeah, and it was fun.
Did the yak make it?
The yak made it. Yeah, the ambush was unsuccessful.
Okay.
I got some pretty good rolls.
Yeah, you did.
Took out some of his guys quickly. Not
So-
quickly, but
So the mission of the bandits, was it to destroy the yak or to capture and...
To capture the yak and
send it off the board on the sides.
Yeah, so he was trying to go straight across, and I was, and in like the movement of the yak depended on who had more of their models closest to it, and if there was a tie, then it moved in a random direction.
Or if nobody was close to it, it moved in a random direction.
Yeah, so the random direction thing was kind of cool because Greg used a D20 in a way that I had never seen one used before, where he just tossed it, and whatever number it popped up on, it didn't matter, but the direction that you could read the number, that was the direction that the yak would go.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, every number on a D20 is on a triangle.
Oh.
And so
Yeah.
the top, if you read the number,
The top
of the number is the direction
like
you
the
go,
arrow.
because that's where one of the points of the
Yeah.
triangle is.
So if you need a random direction for anything,
Roll a D20.
Roll a D20, whatever, it doesn't matter what the number is, but the arrow, yeah, that was pretty cool. I'd never used a D20 like that.
That's incredible.
That was, that's deep DM lore right there. This is the deep knowledge that we're sending out to the world. So that was
on to
what?
Gonna pass it on.
Pass it on to the younger generations, the little mogwai, if you will. So we played that. What else did we play? We played Dice Throne, Marvel Dice Throne, and we did we attempted to do like a boss fight. So that's like you're a Marvel character and you're playing Yahtzee, and so you roll some dice, you figure out what kind of attacks you're doing.
The character is not playing Yahtzee. That would be funny if you control the character and the character in universe is playing Yahtzee.
How would Wolverine deal with playing Yahtzee? I don't think he'd do very well.
I mean, it depends on how good his rolls are.
I don't think he'd have the patience for Yahtzee.
Okay. Well, that's why you said it. You said you're a Marvel character playing Yahtzee.
Yeah. Okay.
You are playing Yahtzee that then dictates the actions of a Marvel character.
Okay, that's better, lawyer.
That's why I said it would be funny if the Marvel characters were playing Yahtzee.
Well, there's a Marvel role playing game. We could all roll up characters and then
you play Yahtzee.
Playing Yahtzee.
No, the characters are playing poker, but you're playing Yahtzee to control the characters and how they play their cards on poker. Yeah.
Okay, and what are they betting? Cryptocurrency?
I mean, they live in a world that has
that's
currency.
DC, not Marvel.
Oh,
sorry.
Excuse me. It does seem like a DC thing. It's lame.
Crypto the dog currency.
I'm gonna pay with Kryptonian canines. Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, man. No, that's as someone who loves Yahtzee more than I care to admit usually.
Oh, you'd be way into Dice Throne then.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could get like so they just came out with like the X-Men set. I think it had like 6 different X-Men characters in it. The game is typically like a battler. Like Devon's Wolverine, I'm Rogue, and we fight each other.
I'm just thinking because I only got to roll all my dice twice. We took 2 turns and I died.
Yeah,
it was the worst. Like it looked like a fun game. I mean, we probably should have played it again, but I just positioned my character in a place where it like took damage from every person on the board.
Well, you had some poor rolls because the thing with Wolverine is so when you roll a defensive die, your defensive dice usually you have some chance of like recovering some health. Well, Wolverine doesn't, but all his other abilities,
all the other things recover
he has
health.
chances to recover health.
Yeah.
So that's how his character's different, and your rolls just didn't allow that. So the weird thing about what we played, not the weird, but just different, is that it was like a boss fight. So we're all like in a room with a bunch of henchmen and trying to accomplish a goal and defeat the henchmen, and then after we did that, you would flip the board over and then we would fight the Kingpin. Well, after Wolverine died, that would kind of spell the doom. No, it was when one character dies, it's game over.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that version of the game, I don't know if you would enjoy that or not, but just the concept of the way that game works, the dice thrown game, I think you would really like, Ben, if you're a Yahtzee fan, because that's what it is. You're rolling dice, trying to match numbers and symbols, and then you compare that to your board and do different powers and stuff. It's fun. I recommend it.
Okay.
We were going to play a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game, but then it was like, it's been a long day of gaming.
Yeah.
Let's play something simple. And the last thing we played was called Living Well, which was a
dice rolling game.
it was a dice rolling game. It was really low barrier to entry. It's kind of difficult to explain, but you have 10 cards in front of you that are in a locked position, and they're all abilities. And then as you roll 2d6, two six-sided dice, you use that number to then flip over the sum of what you rolled.
Mm-hmm.
So if you rolled an 11, you could unlock card number 1 and card number 10. 10 plus 1 is 11. Or you could do 5 and 6. And each one of those cards...
Or 2, 3, and 6.
Yeah, you could do more than just two. And then when you do that, when you unlock those cards...
They have abilities. To either the 1 through 6 are abilities that affect your scoring or affect the scoring of other players. And then 7 through 9 allow you to manipulate your roll, and 10 gives you an extra die to your roll.
That rat is
Living. Okay, so I've played. So Living Well, was this one of those games that's illustrated as if it's like a 70s?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So my mom, hi Mom.
Hey Martha.
She brought up the last time we hung out. She brought up a card game that I had bought her, which was like it was like a dragon. There's like a dragon on the cover, is it not?
I think it does. I think it has a dragon.
This might be. I played this game. I know this game.
You've played this?
I played this game.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom has it because I bought it for her because it had a dragon on the cover and she's way into dragons. But like it was a lot.
She's a
of fun.
dragon lady?
Yes.
I didn't know she was a dragon lady.
She loves dragons.
Has she talked to Emily?
Oh man.
Because Emily's got a crush on a dragon character.
Shh, don't say it out loud. Yeah,
Sorry.
Emily's way into the Wings of Fire books. She cornered Devon last night and told him all about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, Martine was off looking for underpants for Nicole.
Oh yeah.
So that was.
Okay.
That's
I guess
that's
that's
a
okay.
whole nother thing.
So we went. Nicole and I went to.
Wait.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna wait.
To set this up. So Devon and I were playing games with Greg during the day.
Yeah.
And then in the evening, after the kids went to bed, you and Nicole were going to come over.
We had plans because
we were going to play Arcs.
Yeah, because like Flint was, he had a birthday party. He was going to go hang out with
like
friends, and so so we got picked up. We had Pride in the Plaza that we were running a booth for the junior roller derby team, and boy, that was a lot of fun at that thing. We were right next to Traffic Records, so they had like DJs spinning the entire time, so like that kept the energy out.
That's cool, man.
It was super cool. But we ran out of water to drink, and so
That's the first red flag.
Nicole collapsed from heat exhaustion.
Yeah, I mean it was also not just it was hot. It was a warm day.
It was a super warm day,
and you guys are working all day. It's hot, not enough water.
So one ambulance ride later, we were at the hospital at the emergency room, and
I want to read this text.
Oh dear.
That we received, because you say, I don't think we're gonna be able to hang out tonight.
Yeah. I mean, like,
I'm heading to the emergency room to be with her. It's like, you don't think? That's a solid no, my friend.
No, she could have bounced back. And
Yeah,
been like,
okay.
hey,
Well,
we're still good.
if somebody's heading to a hospital to get checked, you should just, the rest of the day is done. That's gonna be the rest of your day.
Sure, but.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what this is an experience that I do not do very often, Steven. So
fair
I'm
enough.
just like,
I don't know what time you guys get home. You could have came over.
right? I could have. No, we were
Why didn't you
home.
come over?
We got back probably like 9:30.
Yeah, we were still up.
We
Yeah.
were still up.
Right, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it was just like, no, I'm gonna keep, because there was throughout the evening, it was kind of hard. Like Nicole had some nausea and
you gotta.
So I was like, I was keeping.
She
an
has
eye
to
on her.
relax the rest of the day, recover the whole deal.
Yeah.
Because she had IV and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So she's okay now.
She's okay now. She's okay now. She's good. Someone should not have, but administered CPR, and and so she's really sore.
Have you ever had CPR on you?
No, I haven't.
Devon?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah,
That's like.
which I mean,
Who?
if you're gonna
Well, don't tell me who did it, but
don't tell me.
well, I mean, it could be a
I have a
lawsuit.
question.
Devon lawsuit. Devon.
No, but I'm just like,
sue.
is it somebody who should have known better? Like, if you know how to do CPR, isn't part of knowing how to do CPR knowing when to administer it?
You think so? You think so, right?
So is it someone who just thought they knew CPR, and so not only did they do it when it wasn't necessary, they also administered it inappropriately?
The way that I see it,
Because
in
you
my
weren't
head.
there. You weren't there.
I was there at that time.
Oh, okay.
I had
It's like, fine, it was me, I did it. I administered CPR. I thought it was necessary.
Nicole turned to me as we were packing everything up, and she's like, "Hey," she literally said, "The heat and the dehydration, it just hit me really. I'm gonna go sit down."
Okay. So
And
she could feel it coming.
So I took a load of stuff back to the car to load it up, and I come back, and there's people running, there's people waving at my tent,
Oh, jeez.
going like, "Hey, this is the place,"
Yeah.
and there's Nicole on the ground.
Ooh.
And so
you weren't there to witness
I wasn't
it.
there to witness when it happened.
Yeah.
One of the when the skaters caught her as she fell, and yeah.
Good job, skater.
Yeah, right.
Whoever that was.
And then they were the one that called 911.
Perfect.
Yeah, so like
That's how it's supposed to work out.
yeah, it was a little scary, a little touch and go there for a moment, but I imagine that if you are like trained in CPR but not in many other medical things, that like to a hammer everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
Right. You're just like, well, hey, I have these skills that can potentially solve this problem now.
But again, when it's a dangerous procedure,
Yeah.
you can break ribs.
Yes.
And it's like part of knowing it. I don't know. I haven't taken a class, but I'm pretty sure part of it is knowing when to use
Yeah.
it.
Well,
yeah.
so Nicole said earlier that she was told that her lips were blue,
Yeah.
and
But
there was
she
a
had a
pulse,
pulse.
but she wasn't breathing.
No, she was breathing like
Shallowly?
Like
I'm pretty sure CPR is the kind of thing where it's like, if there's a pulse, if there's any breathing,
Right.
Because
Don't-
what is
don't
the
do
point
it.
of CPR? Is it to
Right.
restart your heart,
It's to keep
or
it,
to keep you breathing?
It's to keep
or
it
both?
the heart pump, to keep the blood
Right.
pumping.
Well, then in that case, you have a pulse. It's doing its job.
Yeah, so that it
Yeah.
shouldn't.
What
Yeah.
are you?
All right,
what
so
are you
we
applying? to
sounds
the
like
situation?
we've got a case. All
All
right.
right, here we go. Yeah. Anyhow, she's alive.
She's alive.
We're great. Everything's
Everything's good.
fine. She's sore. you
And
know,
we didn't get to play arcs.
And we didn't get to play arts.
And that's the most
That's the
disappointing.
biggest tragedy.
right.
That's the
Yeah.
biggest
Forget about.
tragedy.
Yeah. But
Oh, boy.
here we are. It's
It's nice we can joke about it. She's
Yeah.
fine.
Right. Yeah. And
So
yeah.
instead of playing arcs,
Yeah,
what Devon and I ended up doing, and we can move on to our future or now section. Future or now.
Yeah.
We ended up watching the entire 4th season of Love, Death, and Robots,
Oh wow.
which
I mean, they're short. It was probably only like an hour and a half. Hour and a half.
yeah, because they're shorts. They're like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I think the longest one was like 20 minutes.
Oh really?
Yeah, they're little shorts, and they were all really. There was only one where I was like, that's weird.
Which one?
The dinosaur one. Yeah, I feel like it wasn't
but
developed
it was
enough.
done pretty well.
It was animated good, but like,
No.
okay, so this was the setup. They're like, here's a bunch of rich people. You're on in
The one with the babies, I was a little bit more. No. Is that the same one? The guys at the beginning are looking at a gun and they do like this psychic thing?
Yeah, that was the baby one. The giant.
And that's the
baby
one that has the gangs and the baby. That one I feel like is weirder than the dinosaur one.
Well, that one at least had its own like internal logic that you could get behind.
But
Like
the dinosaur one did.
Love,
it was
Death, and
a
Robots
ceremony.
is a Netflix cartoon show that's sort of a spiritual successor to Heavy Metal.
Yeah, kind of.
You know.
Yeah.
Maybe the reason I liked the dinosaur when we say dinosaur one, that evokes the entirely wrong idea of what it actually is, because it's
Yeah.
actually the future, and it's this ceremony. I guess it's a marriage
it's
ceremony.
like a wedding, yeah. Some kind
being
of
done
thing.
by like this royalty in an orbital station around Jupiter, I think.
Yeah, then there's above the moon because Jupiter's in the background. They're
Jupiter,
above
it's like
the moon.
Enceladus, and
Yeah.
then they're orbiting Enceladus, and it's this big circular station, but the circle is a dirt path but it's a lot like on the sides is all the technology and like it's
It looks
futuristic.
like a trench kind of going all over.
Yeah, a trench like on the inside of the circle, and the ceremony is you've got like these 5 or 6 gladiator type people who appear to be bred and trained for this exact purpose.
Naked,
but with
Mostly.
tattoos that make it look like they're somewhat covered, but yeah, they're naked.
Yeah.
And then the competition is that they get chased by triceratops to begin with, but they then have ways of riding the triceratops,
and controlling.
and they fight each other because
They
they're
have like
trying to kill
grappling
each other.
hooks on their arms, like
Yeah.
and they could use that grappling hook to like hook to like a part of the triceratops, like try to steer it, or you can shoot them at each other and like try to pull them off.
And then by the time there's only 1 or 2 people left, they release a T-Rex to chase them down.
Yeah, and then once the T-Rex is killed, spoilers, a robot comes down, sucks the blood out of the T-Rex, goes up to the 2 people that are having a marriage ceremony, drips the blood over their pod, like their little dome, and then they have their champagne glass and they get some of it to drink it, I guess. And then, but then there was like the one warrior left, who then somehow goes to the T-Rex that's not quite dead, and uses
They
it.
have like a connection.
But see, that's
there's
the part
no,
where I
like-
was like, what?
Well, they're
connection do
both
they have?
they're both being exploited. They're both their purpose for existence is through this stupid ceremony, and they're both being exploited. And they're like, we're going to get revenge. I
Yeah,
thought that was going to happen a lot
yes.
earlier. I thought more of the people were going to band together and attack the people. Who
That would have made sense if they.
Well,
all
and yeah,
band
I'd hoped that it
together.
had happened a lot sooner, and that it had been more extensive. Because the way it is now, it's just basically one attack and it like then credits.
Yeah.
But it would have been
Yeah.
fun to see like a more, and it reminded me of Red Rising because of the way the society was set up and the way like there's the upper class
seem
with all
like
the
tiered.
ornate
Yeah.
stuff and exploiting these people that were bred just to die, and then the attack on them because that happens at the end of the first Red Rising, at the end of basically because they're in a similar situation where they're being pit against each other, but then they attack the people doing it to them.
Yeah.
So
The T-Rex looked cool. The
Mhm.
Triceratops looked cool.
as opposed to Big Baby.
Okay, so the one the dinosaur we were just talking about was like 3D.
I think it's important to note that this is an anthology television show
Yeah.
on Netflix, so every episode is completely different.
Completely
They're not-
different.
they're not
Different
connected to
style.
one another.
Yeah.
Some
So
are
they
live
say-
action. It's not a live action episode.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
With
All right.
with an animated alien thing. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that was all the visuals from that. And look,
Yeah.
people, if you're a fan of sci-fi, watch these.
Yeah.
These
Really
are these
good.
are
All
good.
really good.
We're nitpicking right now because that's what we're doing. The Big Baby one. Okay, so that one starts off. It's very 2D animation versus like a 3D animation, and it's the people are like talking British, right?
Yeah, they had British accents,
British
yeah.
accents. I don't know if it was it in England because everything's destroyed. I don't.
No, because I feel like one part they show a bridge and it's the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah,
Unless I'm mixing that up with a different episode.
but then there was the big wheel in the back with the eye.
Oh, then that's London.
So that would have been London. So I think it was supposed to be
That
London.
bridge could have been
The tower, the
Tower Bridge or whatever.
London Bridge. So yeah, it's like it's weird because it looks like everything's destroyed and there's this group of people and they have like weird like they have this
They have
psychic connection
psychic
of like
abilities.
lightning going to their eyes and their heads, but also trying to like make a gun float.
Infuse some kind of energy into this revolver that's in front of them.
And so you're like, what's going on? And then like things are shaken and you're given this impression that they're under attack by something and you don't know what. And then as the story progresses, they're like okay, they're like a gang and this is their block and they're going to the next block over to see if they can parlay with another gang to team up to go against whatever's attacking
But these
them.
gangs are very much like the movie Warriors. Have you ever seen Warriors, Ben? Where every block, every gang is very themed. So like they go to a gang of women on roller skates.
Yeah,
and
they have
the
like,
one gang
like
is
sharpened hockey sticks.
Yeah, one gang, like the one guy they find, he's like part of the Suits or whatever.
Yeah, and all he had was a blade, like a shaving blade. What was it called?
A straight razor.
A straight razor. Yeah. He's got a straight razor.
So,
like
and
that's
it's
his thing.
very much like Warriors, which is just like that, the 70s movie about this city where there's gangs that are all very, very specifically themed.
Yeah, very themed.
To a ridiculous extent.
Rockstar made a video game based on Warriors.
Oh,
Yes,
probably.
they
Makes
did.
sense.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's based on the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Warriors. There's
Come
a
out and play.
It's this guy like
Yeah.
jingling
The
these
bottles.
bo-
Got
these
these
bottles. And then
It's a sound
like
clip,
that's
right.
that's a very well known sound clip from it. And then also there's a guy at the beginning who's trying to bring everybody together, so he's giving like this speech to all the gangs, and he says, "Can you dig it?" Like he'll say some kind of inspiring thing, and then say, "Can you dig it?" Very 70s, but
Yeah.
that's also a famous part from it.
Yeah, so
But none of that's in this.
None
it
of
just
that.
feels like that.
yeah, it has that same vibe. Anyways, the baby thing that we're talking about, they go around, they everybody they parlay, they all decide, okay, we can all team up to attack this thing that's attacking us, and it's giant babies, like kaiju babies that are destroying everything, and there's a big old fight.
Well, it also the fight is weird because they use their psychic abilities to fight the babies, and so the babies like morph into all these weird things, and then they just go back to normal, and it's just like a fight with like blades and guns. It's like, what was that psychic thing?
Yeah, that was kind of a dropped plot point, I think. Anyways, people die, babies die.
I
giant
still liked
babies
it.
die. It was weird, but
It was
cool.
weird, and I liked it. But the only reason I brought it up was because you said that in comparison to the dinosaur one, I thought the dinosaur one made more sense than the baby one.
Okay.
So I kind of like the dinosaur one slightly better than that one.
Okay, and vice versa for
Yeah.
me. Yeah, and there was let's see. So those two were standouts. There was one where there was a cat that we could understand what the cat was saying, and then there was a robot voiced by
John Oliver.
John Oliver.
And the cat was voiced by, I can't remember his name, but he does a ton of stuff. He's he's in Rick and Morty. He's the
yeah,
guy in
just
Rick and Morty.
Jerry, that guy.
But he's not doing his typical.
Dumb
Because
guy.
he always plays that character like Jerry in Rick and Morty.
Yeah, just a dumb dad
But
character.
this,
he
he's
wasn't
playing
bad.
like a sinister character. But knowing who it is and hearing the tone of his voice, you're still like, it's ridiculous because you know he's not a threat.
Yeah,
Just-
well,
he also
and-
plays Cyril in Archer.
Yeah, and he voices the cat. And so this cat is like, thinks that he's in charge of the household and is like, has all the, it had a very like Pinky in the Brain kind of vibe to it,
Yeah.
with him and this robot. And then like the robot is wired into everything, and so it like can use the owner's credit card to buy the good cat food, and and it just kind of goes on from there. That was a fun one.
And the one I think that stood out maybe the most was the one with that. It was a B-17 crew bombing
that was
a
the best
particular
one.
target during World War II.
Yeah.
And so I won't give too much away on that, but it's a special mission with just one B-17 to destroy this one target, which is a church, and there's some kind of crazy satanic stuff going on.
Like the Nazis are doing occult stuff,
Yeah.
trying to summon something in this
So
church.
that was done really well.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, well, the majority of it, the slight spoiler I'll give is the summoning happens and it attacks.
The B-17.
The
So
B-17
the
is-
crew was like fighting this monster on the B-17.
Yeah, that was done very, very well, and that was creepy too. 'Cause-
And the monster is very creepy.
yeah. Anyways,
That was cool.
Love, Death, and Robots season 4 on Netflix. I recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And it is very adult. That is not for kids. There is a lot of them had like gore, nudity, like the warnings that come up, like gore, nudity, and language was like on most of them.
We also
Yeah.
watched, which wasn't part of Love, Death, and Robots, it was part of Secret Level. We watched the Pac-Man Secret Level,
So Secret Level from Amazon Prime,
which is very
or
similar to
Amazon.
Love, Death, and Robots, based on the one thing that we watched.
Yeah, it's a bunch of shorts based on video games, and a lot of them, or not necessarily just video games, because there's a D&D one, and there's like a Warhammer 40K one, and there's a Pac-Man one, and a Mega Man one, and some other properties that I didn't recognize. One of them I think is like Amazon's MMO,
Yeah.
But the Pac-Man one, boy.
That's the only one that's the only one I've seen. It sounds like you've seen other ones.
Yeah, I saw some of the other ones.
So
but this
it's
was-
just basically,
go for it.
and it seems like they were just like, okay, make a story. Pac-Man is your inspiration. Go. And I was expecting it to be more like a Pixar type thing, but dark. Like, let's have Pac-Man be a character and the ghosts be characters, and the whole thing, I'm assuming, would be dark because it's that kind of show. That's not what it was. It was like it starts off with basically what looks like a cloning chamber or like a cryostasis chamber or whatever, and it opens up and the liquid and it goes. It's really weird because it's sideways, so like the chamber opens up and all the liquid is like pouring down, and then this body falls out of it. And it's like this sort of alien-looking body, like it's humanoid, but it's not.
There's no nose.
No nose.
Yeah,
and it's kind of biomechanical because you can see like there's like light in its eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
But then this ball like floats up to it and says like, "Are you hungry?" And the guy's like, "What's going on?" And
Who am I?
And all the ball says is, "You have to eat." And then throughout the thing, it's like eat or be eaten. And he's going around this crazy world, and
finds
it's not
a sword.
He finds a sword. It doesn't look like Pac-Man at all. It's just like these huge monsters and weird things that he has to fight, and then after he kills them, he has to eat them.
And it shows that. It shows him killing these things, and shows him just biting into the flesh. And this sphere is just following him around all the time.
Weird. And then, but there are these like wispy ghosts in the distance, and he's like, "What are those?" Like, and the things like you have to eat them.
He's like,
"How do I eat ghosts?" He's like, "Well, you can eat them all except for the eyes." Because in Pac-Man, the eyes go back.
Yeah, the eyes go back and it regenerates. And the ball is very mystical, and it keeps saying like you need to make your way through the maze and like all this stuff.
I don't know if I want to spoil it, but
no, don't spoil it. The
so,
ending is quite a thing.
Yeah,
you should watch it. It's quite graphic as well.
But to be like that's what they got out of Pac-Man, that's pretty cool. So I kind of do want to watch the rest of those just to see what they do.
Kind of interesting. Yeah, that
it's
was
very much in the vein of Love, Death, and Robots. So if you like Love, Death, and Robots, watch that because it's basically the same idea.
Like I like the Pac-Man. I've seen it on shirts where it's like like an astronaut that's like on the ground. The astronaut's helmet is up, and the helmet kind of looks like the Pac-Man like mouth. But then the ghosts are like other dead astronauts, and he's got like a bunch of pills around him, and that's like another way to interpret Pac-Man. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh man, it's great. It's wonderful. Look that up one of these days. It's a really cool shirt. Just different ways. That was when we were first watching. We're like, what does that have nothing to do with Pac-Man? And he's walking through a jungle. And then we see all these berries, and he like picks them off. We're like, oh, okay, well, there's a Pac-Man thing. And he like, tries to eat them and spits them out immediately. Like, okay, I guess it's not. Yeah. Anyways,
my son's finally. I guess we're old enough. We watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the film.
Excellent.
And I was like, hey, you really should read the original graphic novel. And he's like, yeah, maybe this summer. I don't know, Dad. Whatever.
Books, gross.
But then we started watching Scott Pilgrim Takes Off.
Mm-hmm.
And that show starts off and you think it's an adaptation of the graphic novel.
Oh, the graphic novel. Okay.
Right, just with all the voice actors from the film reprising their roles. And at the end of the first episode, a big thing happens, and it is not an adaptation of either property whatsoever. It is its own story, kind of parallel universe from it.
Yeah.
And by the third or fourth episode, it becomes like a tremendously creative and amazing series. As you learn one of the interesting inversions of the entire formula is that the movie Scott Pilgrim versus the World is in universe in this cartoon as a film that they're shooting. Like one of the characters doesn't remember doing this, but essentially some other character had ghostwritten the entire screenplay for this while he was asleep, and then he brought it to the local Toronto Wood filming studio, and they just make the film. But it's on top of that, like, it's so zany and over the top that it's just an absolute visual spectacle to watch.
It's really cool.
Yeah. For example, there's one episode where Ramona goes to a video rental shop and gets into a fight, and she gets knocked into a cabinet of a bunch of films, and so the fight continues in each one of the films, like in a western, in a noir thing, that they're just like kind of jumping between these worlds,
genres.
of all of these different films that were on the on the shelf that she was knocked into, and incredibly creative. And now my son's like, I really want to read the graphic novels because of the show. Because the show is a lot closer in style and in tone to the graphic novels. That was his like. Whereas
he's gonna go animated, show, graphic novel, and then movie.
No, we've seen the movie.
We've seen the movie.
So he completely different order than like I read all the comics, loved them, saw the film, loved it. Now
played the video game.
Well, we started playing the video game. That was the first thing that we had done.
Okay.
Was several years ago. We were playing the video game, beat 'em up game.
That was a really good beat 'em up game. Yeah.
With the soundtrack by Anna Managuchi. And they do the soundtrack for the show as well, which is just it's incredible. Anyhow, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is not what it looks like on the tin, and it's really, 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 really good.
Okay.
So I recommend it, and now that I'm rewatching it, I'm like, oh yeah, this was really, really, really good.
Nice.
But.
Well, it reminded me of this episode of Black Mirror in the most recent season. I know you even watched Black Mirror, Ben?
I've seen some Black
Steven,
Mirror.
you said you're a couple seasons behind.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've watched. When pandemic hit, I was like, I can't do Black Mirror.
No.
I don't think I've watched it.
Well, the last season I thought wasn't that good. It was really weird because it was mostly like horror episodes. Like there's an episode where it's just about someone being a werewolf. I'm like, that's not Black Mirror. There's another one where this girl has like a demon companion, which is that episode was interesting, but it still was strange to be Black Mirror. Anyway, this season I thought was a really great return to form for Black Mirror, and I liked just about every episode. But there was one episode, because you reminded me when you said she went into the movies to fight. There's one episode where I feel like they came up with the idea before they wrote the details, because they were like, we want to have a character who's stuck in a movie, has to play out the movie to save themselves.
Okay.
To get to that point is this convoluted thing that I thought was really stupid. Basically, it's like they want to take an old movie and change the main actor so that it will appeal to a modern audience. And rather than reshoot the entire movie, they're going to have all these computers set up, have the screen so you see what movie looks like as it's being filmed. Take the new actor, just the one actor, because we're not replacing all the actors in the movie, just the one, and have that actor in their head have to react the movie.
This was a PlayStation 2 video game. Like there's a camera, and you actually, like, they give you a scene and the lines you're supposed to say a dialogue, and then you film yourself as one of the characters in the film.
Oh.
I remember
PS2?
It might have been PS3, but it was
PS2 didn't have a camera.
Not by default.
Was there one you could plug into?
Yeah, you could plug in. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was PS3. I know that there definitely was a PlayStation Eye camera for the 3.
Okay.
So maybe it's that. But it's
okay.
I've seen this in real life.
And of course things go wrong, and it's like, oh, we can't pull them out or we'll kill them, so they need to play the rest of the movie to get to the end credits to turn the program off so they can be saved. And it's just, and there's some other, like, the interesting twist is the actress who replaces the main character, because the main character that's being replaced is a male role, and they decide, well, let's get this female actress to replace that role. So it is, like, interesting that way, because it's a female actress replacing the male character in a classic, like, love story. And that's fine. But just the convoluted idea of, like, well, we don't want to have to film the whole movie, so we'll film it in real time, in someone's head, on computers, and they have to act out, and they're not perfectly, obviously, because the person can't read, they didn't memorize the script, and so the movie plays out slightly differently, but you still need to hit the beats to have the end scene occur to trigger the credits. It's just, it was so bad.
That sounds exhausting.
I was like, this is, and it sounds interesting the way I'm saying it in a way, but I just felt like it was so stupid.
I think that it's interesting. It feels like a lot of streaming originals
Mm-hmm.
are like throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall, you know, especially for an anthology series. It's like,
Yeah.
well, hey, we'll
They can
we'll
take
take a swing,
chances
yeah,
and do things like that.
But like in some cases, it may be, you know, just for the sake of we need to have content, fresh content all the time.
But that's
I
not
mean,
how Charlie
they
Brooker
put a lot
works,
of they
though.
put a lot of effort into this episode too, because I mean they had to film like all the black and white scenes and have like all those actors act like they were really in an old movie, and they did a great job. And the main character,
How old of a movie?
like from like the 50s,
Okay.
like black and white, like very like Casablanca.
Okay.
But the season was really good. So I pointed at that one thing. There was the new Callister episode, Into Infinity. Is that what it's called? Maybe. Well, you guys got to watch that because it was really good. I mean, you remember the first one was really good.
I'll have to. I
probably.
need to rewatch the first
We
one.
rewatched the
'cause
first
it's
one.
Been a long
It's
time.
definitely worth rewatching. And I was thinking like, because the first one ends with them all on the ship. It's like Star Trek, and they go into, you know, the rest of the game. Because in the first episode, they're stuck on the local server with the guy who's torturing them.
Yeah.
And at the end, they escape to the rest of the game where they can interact with other players. And I was wondering, like, is it going to be a lot more like just Star Trek focused, like they're on the ship now, like flying through the universe, like doing stuff, or is there going to be more Black Mirror aspect types of it? And it's definitely way more Black Mirror. It's like there's still crazy stuff going on in the real world, and then crazy things that are revealed in the game, and it's very good.
All right.
Cool.
The ending's kind of crazy, but it's still pretty good.
We are going to take ourselves a little break.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
We're going to take ourselves a little break. When we come back, no book club.
Why not?
We've all read it.
Book club when we come back. What was it called?
Beauty or Us.
We'll
Yeah.
we'll let you know when we come back.
Yeah.
Because,
Everyone's
we'll-
pulling out their
we'll-
phones.
Yeah.
So while everyone pulls out their phones, and I
And
drop
drops.
mine on the floor, we're going to take ourselves a little break. So we'll be right back.
Oh, wow. Another free listener. Incredible. Look, I love that you're here, but let's be real. You could be getting so much more. Bonus episodes, unfiltered takes, behind-the-scenes chaos. All you have to do is join our Patreon at patreon.com/sciencefactionpodcast. Or don't. But if you don't, just know that somewhere in a parallel universe, a better version of you already has.
And we're back.
How dare you?
Yeah, I hit the button.
Thank you to our patrons. That's my bed voice. Thanks, Renee and Josh, for being our patrons. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Next week, we are doing Psalm for the Wild Built
By Becky Chambers.
No, see, if you take mine, I'm taking yours. That's how it works around here. I'm the captain now.
It's an optimistic vision of a lush, beautiful world.
How dare you? Yeah, so that's a Becky Chambers book. It's a book. It's not a short story. And we are planning on completing the first 2 chapters to talk about next week. So go to your local library, go to however. I own the book in paper, and it's very good.
Yeah, you lent it to me.
I did.
And that's how I read it.
I've got this one and its sequel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff. But this week, Ben, what are we talking about this week?
We're going to be talking about the short story by Ted Chiang from his book Stories of Your Life and Others. This is Liking What You See, a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Which starts off with a quote, "Beauty is the promise of happiness," which is an interesting thing for this story to start off with. But the general idea is, much like the last Ted Chiang story that we read, was not your typical like story. It was a work of fiction told as a like the last one was like
An article in a science magazine talking about why they don't publish science.
And haven't for 45 years.
Yeah.
This is a documentary, so it's a bunch of descriptions of scenes and interviews with different people.
But this does have a somewhat of a narrative thread, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a timeline happening.
Right.
Did you read it or listen to it?
I read it.
Okay, did you listen to it?
I listened to it.
Because listening to it was nice because they had different people as the different characters.
Well, they had a male and female.
Okay, well,
And do
it made it easy to distinguish between the characters, and it
Yeah.
kind of felt more like a documentary because you actually were hearing the people talk. Like they were.
It sounded like they were being interviewed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
Well, and so I mean, the basic gist of this is there is a technology in the world, in this fictional world, called Caliagnosia,
Yeah.
or just abbreviated as Cali. And the basic idea is this is a way where scientists have learned how to tap into your brain and turn off the part of your brain that assigns positive feelings to facial beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Positive or negative.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
positive or negative.
Yeah.
You can
so,
still tell, like if they use the example, like you can know that someone nose is long. Like you'll understand what the features are, but you won't have a feeling of that's attractive or not attractive or beautiful or ugly.
and so the idea here, like what the inciting portion of all this is that there is a college, Pembleton College,
That sounds right.
Pembleton College, that is about to vote on whether they should make a student having Caliagnosia applied be a requirement for entrance and attendance to their university.
And that's kind of backed up by like a private school that had it done first, or like not even a private school. It was like a commune or something. Where they all had
it's
happen.
I think it's a private school because it's attached. They say to like a housing project type thing, like a private commune type thing. But that school is like a K through 12 school,
right.
and so it's for kids. So it's families who decide to have that procedure done to their kids so that they grow up in an environment where people aren't being judged for their looks, and like kids won't be made fun of as much because the kids don't have a feeling about this kid being different or looking.
It's also important to note that it is completely reversible.
Mhm.
You can turn it on, you can turn it off. It's not like a permanent
I
thing.
mean, you can't do it to yourself. You have to go somewhere to get it done. So it's not like
It's
you can
like
just
procedure.
turn it on and off.
Except at the end,
Well, that's
where
at the
new
end.
technology comes, where there's like home units where you could choose to turn it on.
Well, because
and off.
that's another aspect of this world are specs, where people have like an augmented reality headset that seems to have replaced like phones and stuff. Like you just have your specs,
Yeah.
and advertising happens through the specs on things.
Mhm.
Like you could walk around the world. I got the feeling that you could walk around the world and there was advertising spaces, but if you're looking at it through your specs, it's advertising directed directly at you.
Right.
And so then they make the point of saying like that advertising has gotten to a place where it is like the most beautiful, the most perfect, and it just is kind of like an escalating thing where like people see that and they try to reach that, and it's like it keeps going more and more and more, and it's this.
Well, and it's very easy to look at current advertising to say the same thing because the people on TV, movies, and advertising, kind of less so now. There seems to be an effort to not do it as much.
Still.
No, it still is, but I'm saying you can also see commercials where I'm like, oh, well, that person probably wouldn't have been in a commercial 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but
Fair
still,
enough.
basically, generally, it's still you have the most attractive people, and the way it's described in the short story at one point, because someone gives a speech, I think it might be the president of the college who's in favor of it, talks about how like cocaine is like you amplify joy, and it's unnaturally amplifies something like that, which ends up being harmful. And he said that's what's happened to beauty. We have like our through evolution what we determine to be beautiful from like a reproductive standpoint, and now we've taken those features and amplified them. So beauty is this thing that's like distilled like a drug.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to what end? Like the advertisers, and so this, as you get further and further into the story, there's the people who are for Caliagnosia and like, hey, listen, this is something where if you choose to do it, you actually are like reducing your input stimulus to a degree, and where you're not focusing on things that don't matter, and you're living your life, and you're finding levels of happiness because like just surface features don't matter as much. And then there's the advertisers who are massively pushing against this with like doing really underhanded tricks in order to shift cultural perception and saying, well, why would you deny others your freedom to know?
Freedom.
Yeah, and so like what's interesting is like there's one quote that I thought was like from our best shot at getting the initiative passed is to take advantage of the anger against advertisers. The social equality will follow afterwards. Which yeah.
Oh boy.
You know, but I mean, you know, there was another point where the advertisers have created a like they say it's a PR firm essentially, but they create like a campaign that's the People for Ethical Nanomedicine. that's not a grassroots organization at all. It's just they're trying to like say you know that actually it's reducing your freedoms and reducing your ability to tell beauty. Isn't beauty the most important thing? And you know,
Natural, beautiful,
to a good life. Why would you turn off the ability to enjoy others' beauty?
A couple of points about this story as well is that when there is that speech by the school person, there's later they talk about people with calignosia had one response to it, and the people without it had a different response to it, which was a nice parallel to the presidential debate between Nixon and Kennedy, where when people heard it on the radio, they thought Nixon did a better job, and when they saw it on TV, they thought the people thought Kennedy did a better job.
Yeah.
Because of looks, like he was a more, apparently someone to look at.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So like they drew that parallel in it. The other really interesting thing about this story is that one of the people that are consistently interviewed is a young girl, and so a lot of this
Tamara.
Yes. And a lot of the story is like professionals like talking about the science or you know how society is reacting, but then you have this personal story with this young girl who was in the commune, like she grew up with
school that you had to have it off from a young
her
age.
parents had made a decision on her behalf to turn on calignosia, and then
So she grew up with that on.
Yeah, but in high school she had a relationship with a young boy, and
she didn't know that she was attractive. Like it also applies to yourself. Like you see yourself in the mirror and you don't necessarily think, oh, I'm attractive, and so that's going to influence how I think people should treat me, or I'm not attractive, so I'm going to be more shy about how I act because I know people think I don't look that good.
Right.
So that you take that out too, which is a big part of like affecting your confidence because you don't care how you look.
Right.
And mostly people who usually don't care how they look can tend to be happier because they're not living to satisfy society's requirements.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so she gets her calignosia turned off, but had moved away and ended the relationship with her boyfriend.
He ended it with her.
She really liked
yeah.
him. He
Yeah.
wanted to be able to date in college.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he ended it with her, and she still wanted to be with him. And so she got it turned off,
And
found out that she was attractive.
yeah,
But yet she still wanted to get back with him. That was the interesting thing. It's like she didn't get the experience of like, oh, all these guys want to be with me. Maybe I should do that. She was more like, no, I really loved my boyfriend. I wanted to still be with him. And she shows
His
a picture.
beauty's on the inside, Devon.
Yeah, no,
obviously.
Well, that's the point. She even shows a picture of her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend to someone she meets in college, and that girl's like, "Oh wow, you're way out of his league. Like,
Right.
you never would have dated him had you known, like, or
Yeah.
he never would have approached you had he known that you were so attractive and he wasn't, and you never would have dated him because you would have been out of his league."
And it's interesting, like another quote. So you see, this debate isn't just about commercials and cosmetics. It's about determining what's the appropriate relationship between the mind and the body. Are we more fully realized when we minimize the physical part of our natures? Which is, like that's the Tamara thing.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't care how I look or how he looks and the fact that he's goofy. Like, I still want to be in a relationship.
And
with
so
him.
in that story,
Yeah.
she wants to get him back, so she contacts him to start like talking to him again, and convinces him to get his calignosia turned off.
Yeah.
So that he can see beauty, and then she wants to have a video chat with him so he can see how beautiful she is, and she notices that he starts acting different
Right.
because he's intimidated by her beauty, And he talks about how now that he has it off when he's at school, in college, he feels bad about himself and realizes like there's a reason like girls don't want to go out with him because he doesn't look attractive, and so it hurts him, and he ends up getting it turned back on.
Yeah,
and he feels better. He does better because he talks about how now again he's not concerned with looks.
Right. Yeah. And it's fascinating again, like the societal impact in a corporate culture, and like, for example, how it was impacting other things that were not just not just physical beauty, but like we may not think something looks like a face, a car for example, but at a neurological level we're treating it as if it were a face, like the front of a car.
Oh yeah.
You know,
We've
and
all
so
seen
like
cars.
yeah, you know cars are vehicles that
They're
are
very
driven
attractive,
by
yeah.
tremendously
Some of them.
attractive,
Yeah.
or derpy in other cases.
Stop judging all these cars.
Well,
They were
so
built to specification.
the end of the story, because it gets to the point where they talk about the polls for the vote at the college, where it's actually a majority of people are going to vote for it, but then there's I guess it's an advertisement, something done by, it's just like a spokesperson comes and gives a speech and talks about all against it. The person is hired by the company to speak out against it, and it hugely swings the polls back towards voting against it, and it doesn't succeed. But then it turns out that they used a bunch of like tricks in this advertisement, because it was like a video type thing or something,
Right.
where it was like using different like tones, and it was programmed, designed to affect the listener beyond just seeing it. Like it had like basically subliminal messages, if you want to like as an analogy. So it convinced people to vote against it. So they were using a technology that went beyond just, you know, the normal thing, and should actually affect people's brains to say that that was wrong.
Yeah, so
they basically
the people that
took
had
advantage.
calyognosia already were not necessarily affected by this, but not like even the people that were like, well, I don't have calyognosia, but I think that this is a great idea. They were convinced otherwise, and so it's what an interesting thing. Like societally, you know, they mentioned too, our beauty receptors receive more stimulation than they were evolved to handle. We're seeing more beauty in one day than our ancestors did in a lifetime, and the result is that beauty is slowly ruining our lives. Now, mind you, this is a story in which you see all sides of the argument. You know, like that. What was just said there, in context, is an opinion piece, right? Like you can't take anything from this story at face value, and you kind of learn about that because you're seeing it from all sides. And
It sounds like we all enjoyed this story.
oh yeah,
Yeah, this is what I want from a sci-fi story, like to make you think.
But it's not. It wasn't a story. It was like a
She was-
news report.
Yeah, but like, you know, there was the story of how the vote went and how people were influenced. There's the story of Tamara and how like it affected her to have it on and off. And she even at the end, wasn't she considering turning it back on even?
yeah, she was considering it.
Yeah.
And then also like talking about how most Kelly supporters are modern secular liberals, but another group that advocates Kelly
religious.
is conservative religious groups.
Yeah.
You know, communities of all three major monotheistic faiths, Jewish,
right.
Christian, and Muslim, who've begun using Kelly to make their young members more resistant to the charms of outsiders. You know,
That's kind of a negative thing though too, if you think about it. Like, you're
right.
Well, look at anyone who's homeschooled is a little bit off. I will.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I've known
But, like-
several. They're all a little bit off, and
Sure.
that kind of has that same vibe.
Yeah.
You grew up with calignosia, and then you decided to turn it on.
they
and
do,
everything
and they
would be
do
a
talk
little
about
bit off.
that. Like, if you grew up with it, because that was one of the advertisements from the company against it. Like, oh, like you can't be a graphic designer even if you grew up with Cali and then you had it turned off. You're still not going to have developed what it takes to understand beauty enough to be a graphic designer.
Right.
And
Which-
then someone
which
else is
is
like,
false.
that's crap. Like,
Yeah.
no, like there's plenty of graphic designers who grew up with it and turned it off and do just fine.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's that fascinating. It's an odd sort of thing in speculative fiction where you're inclined, because this is a world you're not familiar with, to take things at face value. right? Like if something is said in a story, you're like, oh, okay, well that's the truth of this world.
Right.
And this story really played with that by showing this
All
from
the different
all different
sides.
views,
Yeah.
and having a lot of unreliable narrators and narrators that had like real deep seated, like, hey, the entire industry of marketing will need to be changed if Calignosia is more widely developed,
Right.
And accepted.
Can't use beauty anymore. Beauty doesn't matter. How are you
Right.
going to sell your stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a really good story. I did really, really enjoy it. But I was thinking, is that how this writer writes?
Because both of these, I'm curious about
Yeah.
reading more of his work because
Well, yeah.
Well, so
Yeah.
he, in this book, in this collection of short stories, is the story that Arrival was based on. So I want to listen to that to see, because that seems like it would be more of just a regular narrative. But
I
it could
bet
just
you
be
it's a
news
bunch
stories.
of reports from scientists
Yeah,
and government officials probably,
probably.
Yeah.
and they pulled the narrative out for the movie.
Mhm.
I'd imagine.
Yeah. Well, I liked
That's my
everything.
guess.
I'll probably listen to some more of it. So
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah,
Sure.
maybe we'll come back to that after Monk and Robot. Who knows?
Yeah.
But-
So, Psalm for the Wild Bill next week.
Yeah, man. So I guess that's a show.
That's the show right there, everyone. We did it. We came together. We made it happen. It's been an hour plus.
What an hour.
What an hour. Yeah. So that's that, man. Devon, you got any final thoughts for us?
No, not really.
No. Ben, any last words?
I do not. Not today.
Words.
Not
Wow.
today, my friend.
Fantastic. Well, with that, good night, everybody.
This has been the Science Faction Podcast. Tweet to the host at SciFact Podcast. Email them at sciencefactionpodcast@gmail.com and visit sciencefactionpodcast.com for more episodes.